Well, hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Coluccio, aka the Midlife Success Coach, and it's wonderful to have you here. If you're here for the first time, welcome. Please make sure to hit subscribe, like, and recommend so that other midlifers can be encouraged as well. If you are returning, it's wonderful to have you here. Thanks so much for joining me again as we continue to work through my brand new book, 21 Hacks to Rock Your Midlife. Okay, so we are up to hack number 2 today. And I'm so excited because we are in the first part of the 7-step model as outlined in my new book, 21 Hacks to Rock Your Midlife. And hack number 2 falls under the very first step of awakening. It's when we hit that crossroads at midlife and we go, oh, and the blinkers come off and we realized I'm not actually a spring chicken anymore. I've got some gray hairs, extra hairs where I never used to have hairs. And all of a sudden we have this choice to keep the blinkers on and keep rocking on through to we're 80, not having stopped and taken stock of where our life's going and if we want to change anything. Or we can use this time when we hit this crossroads, when the blinkers come off, as an awakening to prepare for an amazing new season ahead. I'm in the second group. Are you? So hack number 2, accepting that the time is now. I think every midlife woman knows that quote by Dr. Brené Brown. It's like the rallying call for midlife women everywhere. I'm going to read it for you. Midlife, when the universe grabs you by the shoulders and tells you, I'm not effing around, use the gifts you were given. It's powerful, isn't it? But we need to actually stop and acknowledge that we're at these crossroads and plan how we're going to do that. Otherwise, it's like all of those seminars and conferences and summits and TED Talks and all those things you've seen, where you get an emotional burst, like, oh yes, I want to change my life. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then you leave, day-to-day life kicks in, nothing changes. You want to make a real midlife reinvention? It starts with this hack number 2, accepting that the time is now to change your life. Before I wrote my 21 Hacks series, I wrote a little book called Girl, Get Over Yourself and Get in the Game. And in it, I talked about when my moment happened where the universe didn't grab me by the shoulders. The universe basically slapped me around across the face. And I knew that I had some choices to make. And they're the 3 options I'm going to give to you today. For me, though, that pivotal moment in my life came after I had homeschooled my 2 teenagers for 6 years. Both of my teens were quite elite level with their sports. They were training 20 odd hours a week, literally traveling the world. And so by homeschooling them during those years, they got time to actually get their education, do their training, have a life, see their friends, and get some sleep. It was a wonderful, busy, messy, hectic time in our lives, and I loved it. So for me, that moment when I hit that crossroads and had to make my choices occurred when my youngest child, my daughter, finished her homeschooling, and we were sitting out on our deck on a warm afternoon in November, and she had a pile of envelopes from universities that she'd applied to, and she was opening them and she was getting offer after offer after offer into various courses. And I was so proud of her. And I was sitting there like watching how excited she was and encouraging her like, this is amazing, well done, that's fabulous. And inside, I felt like I'd been sucker punched. You see, it suddenly hit me. My life was never going to be the same. I had just been made redundant. And I had 3 choices. When you hit this midlife moment, be it through a big birthday, be it through a life event like mine was, one of your choices is you just keep your blinkers on and keep going. Okay, I could just keep pretending life's as normal and being the absolute dutiful uber mum that I was. It would have been difficult, obviously, and I actually don't think my kids would have appreciated me still being the homeschooling uber mum when these 2 young adults were off at university and forging their own lives. So if you're at that midlife crossroads right now, that's your choice number 1. Are you just going to keep going on, doing what you're doing, what you've always done until you slide into 80 and go, yeah, it was okay. Life was okay. Or are you going to take Number two. Choice number two was one that I could have easily been stuck in, and that was to sit and pine and be sad and grieve for what I'd lost. You see, I absolutely loved that 6 years. I loved seeing my kids being part of it and facilitating their education so that they could go out and achieve the amazing things that they did. And I could easily pine for that. You know, I asked a question in my Rocking Midlife group a couple of years ago about empty nest. How do you cope with empty nest? How do you deal with it? And a lot of women came back going, oh, I found it hard, but I did this and I did that and whatever. But I still remember one really strong response. And it was this poor lady going, I'm not coping. I'm crying all the time. It's hurting me. I just wish my kids were little again. And I get that. I get that. I remember those days. You open the photo album, you know, when your kids were little and you sat there putting up the Christmas tree together and watching their excited faces. It'd be so easy to be stuck in this place of grieving for the life that you'd had. You know, the life when your parents were around, when your older relatives, when your grandparents were around. It'd be so easy to get stuck in that place, wouldn't it? And just have that thought that life's never going to be the same. It's never going to be any good again. And that's really hard when you think that you've possibly got another 40 years ahead of you, maybe more if you're super fit and healthy. Do you want to spend them being sad for what you had? Or do you want to choose choice number three? Choice number three was the one that I made. And that's the one that I challenge women right around the world to make. Choice number three is to choose to create a different second half where you are actually in the spotlight of your life. Those first 20, 30 years, let's face it, we're so busy doing everything for everybody else. We're making sure we do the right thing by our workplace and our boss. We're making sure that we're looking after our partner and doing what we need to do to keep our relationships strong. We're running around after kids. Think of all the homework and the notes and the tons and tons of laundry that you washed and the cooking and propping up emotionally, all the things that you've done for these last 20, 30 years. And it is a wonderful, busy, messy time in your adult life, isn't it? But there comes a point when you hit midlife and you accept that actually you have this little glimmer of time where it's actually all about you. It's about you making the choices that you want going forward. Sure, you've still got obligations. You might still have that job. You've still got a marriage. You've still got kids. We're not saying you cut them off, you destroy your relationships. What I am saying is in the second half, while you've got this little window of opportunity before you start to move more into old age, you can actually create an amazing blueprint right now to create your own purposeful second season that you're passionate about, that you're on fire about, that remembers the past but moves forward into the new. I don't know about you, but that's what I want for my next 40 odd years. And you know something? That's what I chose. And if I hadn't have made that choice, I wouldn't be where I am now. All these years later, now 55, I made that choice when I was 43. And I've since experienced amazing different careers, experiences, and I've been able to write books and meet incredible, amazing people around the world. And none of that would have happened if I'd chosen to stay in that same place. So that's my question for you today. Are you ready to accept that the time is now, where the universe is grabbing you by your shoulders and telling you that now's the time to use those gifts, use those talents, use that passion that you've got in your life and go out and create a purposeful second half? Let me know your thoughts. Drop some comments down below. I'm a real person. I respond to questions. I respond to emails. Let me know if this is hitting home to you. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, and make sure that you also grab that free workbook that I've posted below about your core values, because understanding your core values is going to create the foundations for your amazing second half. I will see you for hack number 3 tomorrow.